forest moon of Kepler 4/4 stretched endlessly beneath twin suns, its canopy glowing with silver leaves that caught the morning light like scattered diamonds. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the landing zone watching his team unload equipment from their survey vessel. The air smelled clean and fresh, with hints of something floral that reminded him of jasmine back on Earth. "Readings are good, Captain," called Dr. Lisa Parker, checking her scanner for the third time. "Atmosphere is breathable. Gravity is 0.8 Earth standard. And I'm picking up complex organic signatures throughout the forest." She brushed a strand of brown hair from her face and smiled. "This place is alive." Tom Bradley wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished setting up the communication array. "Temperature's a bit warm for my taste, but the humidity levels are perfect. My equipment should run without any problems here." Rick Davis emerged from the ship carrying his security gear, his experienced eyes scanning the tree line. "Quiet," he muttered. "It's quiet for a forest this size." He had spent 20 years in Earth's military before joining the Exploration Corps, and his instincts rarely failed him. Jake nodded and activated his comm device. "Earth's Pride to Colony Command. We have successful touchdown on Kepler 4/4. Initial scans show the planet is suitable for human habitation, beginning first contact protocols with local inhabitants." The team had detected signs of intelligent life from orbit, large structures that seemed to grow from the trees themselves, energy patterns that suggest advanced technology, and movement patterns to organize to be random. Whatever lived here had built a civilization. They did not have to wait long to meet their hosts. A soft musical sound echoed through the forest, like wind chimes made of crystal.
Act!
The trees themselves seemed to respond, their silver leaves rustling. Without any breeze, then they appeared. The Zealothi moved through the forest with grace that made them seem to float rather than walk. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with slender bodies covered in pale fur that shifted color from cream to soft gold. Their faces were elongated and gentle, with large dark eyes that held obvious intelligence. Most striking were the small crystal formations that grew from their foreheads, pulsing with soft blue light. The leader of the group approached slowly, holding what looked like a flowering branch in his long-fingered hands. When he spoke, his voice came not from his mouth but from a small device that hung around his neck. "Greetings, travelers from beyond the sky," the device translated in clear English. "I am Elder Kethfell, of the forest community of Silthera. We have watched your arrival with great interest and wonder." Jake stepped forward and offered a respectful bow. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth's exploration vessel, come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship with the peoples of the galaxy." Elder Kethfell's crystal formation pulsed brighter, and Jake could swear he felt a gentle touch in his mind, like someone lightly brushing against his thoughts. The elder tilted his head, seeming puzzled. "Your minds are different," he said through the translator. "We cannot sense your thoughts as clearly as we do with other beings. This is most unusual." Lisa stepped forward with her scanner. "We're not telepathic, if that's what you mean. Our species evolved without that ability." "Fascinating," Elder Kethfell replied. "You must have developed other ways to survive. Your world must be very different from ours." "You could say that," Rick muttered, still watching the forest. "Elder." Kethfell gestured toward the trees. "Come, let us show you our home. We are eager to learn about your people and share what we know of the galaxy." The group began walking deeper into the forest, following paths that seemed to be made of living wood. The Zealothi moved silently, their feet barely disturbing the soft moss that covered the ground. Jake noticed that other Zealothi watched them, from among the trees, their crystal formations glowing with what seemed like curiosity. "Your buildings," Tom observed, looking up at structures that curved and twisted like natural growth. "They're grown, not built. We work with the forest, not against it," Elder Kethfell explained. "Our technology is based on biological processes. We encourage growth rather than impose our will upon nature." Lisa was taking readings constantly, her excitement obvious. "The energy patterns are incredible. Your technology is completely integrated with the ecosystem. It has taken us many thousands of years to achieve this harmony," Elder Kethfell said, with what might have been pride. "We have learned that cooperation brings better results than conflict. Must be nice," Rick said quietly. "Living without predators." Elder Kethfel stopped walking. His crystal formation flickered rapidly, and the other Zealothine nearby froze in place. "What do you mean?" the translator asked, though Elder Kethfel's voice seemed strained. "Well, this is obviously a peaceful world," Rick explained. "No weapons, no fortifications, everyone living in harmony. You must not have any dangerous animals here." The forest around them fell completely silent. Even the gentle sounds of small creatures moving through the undergrowth stopped. Elder Kethfel's crystal was now pulsing in rapid, urgent flashes. We do not speak of such things," he said through the translator. "There are old fears, ancient terrors that sleep in the deep places of the forest." Jake was about to ask for clarification when the ground began to shake. At first it was just a tremor, like heavy machinery running somewhere in the distance. Then it became a rhythmic pounding, like massive footsteps approaching. The Zealothi scattered instantly. Their graceful composure vanished, replaced by pure panic. Elder Kethfel grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. "Run," he gasped, his translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. "The Drachma comes, the death that walks. We must flee to the high branches. It is the only way." "What's a Drachma?" Lisa asked. But her question was answered as the creature burst through the tree line. It stood 12 feet tall at the shoulder, with a body that seemed to combine the worst features of every predator Jake had ever seen. Its hide was black as midnight, covered in scales that reflected light like oil. 6 legs ended in claws the size of sword blades, each one capable of tearing through steel. Its head was massive, with jaws that could easily swallow a human whole. But the worst part was its eyes. They glowed with an intelligence that was both alien and malevolent. The creature's gaze swept across the fleeing Zealothi, then focused on the 4 humans who had not moved. It tilted its head, seeming curious about these strange beings who did not run from it. Elder Kethfel was already halfway up the nearest tree, his people following him with desperate speed. "Why do you not flee?" he called down to the humans. "The Drachma has ruled this forest for 1,000,000 years. Nothing can stand against it." Jake calmly reached for the plasma rifle on his back. "Rick, you got a clean shot from that angle?" Rick was already moving, circling to the creature's left, side with his neural disruptor ready. "Just like that thing we fought on Proxima B, only bigger." The Drachma seemed to realize that these creatures were not behaving as prey should. It let out a roar that shook leaves from the trees and charged forward with surprising speed. Jake's plasma rifle fired first, the beam striking the creature in the center of its chest. The Drachma stumbled, but kept coming. Rick's neural disruptor caught it in the side of the head, causing it to veer off course and crash into a massive tree trunk. Tom had his sidearm out now, adding his fire to the mix. Lisa crouched behind a fallen log, her scanner forgotten as she watched the battle unfold. The Drachma recovered quickly and tried to circle around to attack from behind. But the humans had fought as a team too many times to be caught off guard. They moved with military precision, keeping the creature in a crossfire while staying out of reach of its claws. In less than 3 minutes, the legendary apex predator of Kepler 442c lay dead at their feet. The forest was silent except for the sound of the humans checking their weapons and the distant whimpering of terrified Zealothi still clinging to the high branches of the trees. Jake looked up at Elder Kethfel, who was staring down at them with an expression of absolute horror. "It's safe to come down now?" Jake called up to him. "We need to talk?" Elder Kethfel climbed down from the tree with shaking hands, his crystal formation flickering with colors that Jake had not seen before. The other Zealothi remained in the high branches, watching the scene below with wide eyes filled with terror. In disbelief? "How?" Elder Kethfel whispered through his translator, staring at the massive corpse of the Drachma. "How is this possible? The Deathbringer has ruled our world since the first songs were sung. No living thing has ever defeated one in combat." Rick was already kneeling beside the creature, examining its hide with professional interest. "Tough skin, but not too tough. These claws would be nasty in close combat, but it's built for intimidation more than real fighting. He looked up at the watching Zealothi. How many of these things are there on your world? We do not count them, Elder Kethval said, his voice still shaking. They are like the storms or the turning of seasons. They simply are. When one is seen, all flee.
Oh.
This is the way it has always been. Lisa was taking readings from the dead. Creature, her scanner beeping steadily as it analyzed the alien biology. Fascinating muscle structure. The bone density is incredible. This thing probably weighed close to 3 tons. She looked up at Jake. The protein content looks amazing. 2. Tom was setting up a portable field unit, connecting power cables and checking his equipment. Captain, if we're going to be here for a while, I should get the camp established. Standard protocol says we need to dispose of this carcass before it attracts scavengers. Jake nodded and pulled out his field knife. Rick, help me get this thing. Field dress, Lisa. Keep taking those readings. Tom, fire up the cooking unit once you get camp set up. Elder Kethval watched in growing horror as Jake began cutting into the Drachmaress hide. What are you doing? Cannot desecrate the Deathbringer's form? There are sacred rituals that must be performed. We're preparing dinner, Jake said simply, cutting away a large section of what looked like the creature's equivalent of a tenderloin. This much meat shouldn't go to waste. The translator struggled for several seconds before finally conveying Jake's words to Elder Kethval. The Zealothi leader's crystal formation went completely dark, then blazed with bright red light. Dinner, he gasped. You mean to consume the flesh of the apex terror? This is not possible. This cannot be happening.
Oh, man.
Down from their hiding places, drawn by curiosity, despite their fear, they formed a wide circle around the humans, keeping well away from the dead Drachmer. But unable to look away from the impossible scene, Rick had removed his jacket and was helping. Jake butchered the creature with practiced efficiency. Reminds me of that elk I got in Colorado last year. It's different anatomy, but the principle's the same. He held up a piece of dark red meat. Look at this marbling. This is going to be delicious. Lisa was documenting everything with her scanner and camera. The muscle fibers are incredibly dense. The protein chains are unlike anything in our databases, but they look similar to Earth creatures. I think this will be safe for human consumption. Tom finished setting up the portable cooking unit and was heating a large pan over the energy. Burner, how do you want this cooked, Captain? I've got some seasoning packets from the ship if you want to try something fancy. Medium rare, Jake replied, handing Tom several thick steaks cut from the Drachmer's flank. Let's see what the apex predator of this world tastes like. The smell of cooking meat began to fill the forest clearing. Zealothi watching from the edges seemed to be having trouble breathing. Several of them sat down heavily, as if their legs could no longer support them. A younger Zealothi approached Elder Kethval and spoke in rapid musical tones. The Elder's crystal formation pulsed as he listened. Then he turned to the humans. Yathera asks if you are perhaps gods or spirits, the translator said. She cannot understand how beings of flesh can destroy the eternal terror and then consume its essence. Jake looked up from where he was washing his hands in a stream that ran nearby. We're just people. Where we come from, hunting large animals for food is pretty normal. But the Drachmer is not just a large animal, Elder Kethval protested. It is the terror that shapes our world. Our cities are built in the high places because of the Drachmar. Our children learn to climb before they learn to walk because of the Drachmar. Our entire civilization exists in the shadow of these creatures.
Oh.
Flipped the steaks with a satisfied sizzle. Well, maybe it's time to think about moving to ground level. These things don't seem that tough once you know how to fight them. Rick had finished cleaning his weapons and was now examining the Drachmaress claws. These would make good trophies. Mind if I take a few back to the ship, Captain? Go ahead, Jake said. Just make sure you document everything for the report. The first steaks were ready. Tom served them on metal plates from their field kit, the meat still steaming and perfectly cooked. The smell was rich and complex, like a cross between venison and something exotic that none of them could identify. Jake took the first bite and chewed thoughtfully. Not bad at all. Rich flavor, very tender. The texture is interesting. Rick tried his portion and nodded approvingly. Definitely better than those ration packs we've been eating. It's a kind of smoky taste to it. Lisa sampled hers more cautiously, analyzing the taste as well as the texture. The amino acid profile should be excellent for human nutrition. This could actually be a valuable food source for future colonies. Tom was already cutting more steaks from the carcass. There's enough meat here to feed us for weeks. Should I prepare some more while the cooking unit is hot? The Zealothi watching from the forest edge were now completely silent. Even their crystal formations had stopped pulsing. They stared at the humans eating their ancient nightmare as if they were witnessing the end of the world. Elder Kethbel slowly approached the humans, his movements careful and deliberate. In all our histories, in all our songs and stories, nothing like this has ever happened. The Drachma are the unchanging constant of our world. They have been here since the beginning of memory. How long do these things usually live? Lisa asked between bites. We do not know, Elder Kethfell replied. You do not age as other creatures do. Sometimes one will disappear for many seasons, and we hope it has died of old age or sickness. But they always return. They are eternal. Well, this one's definitely not eternal anymore, Rick said, pointing at the carcass with his fork. And if there are more of them, they're not going to be eternal either. Word was spreading through the forest. More Zealothi were arriving every few minutes, drawn by telepathic messages from those already present. Soon there were over 100 of them gathered in the clearing, all staring at the impossible scene of humans casually eating their apex predator. Jake noticed the growing crowd and stood up, wiping his hands on a napkin. Elder Kethfell, we seem to be attracting attention. Is this going to be a problem? I do not know, the elder admitted. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Our people are struggling to understand what they are seeing. Some believe you. Must be powerful spirits. Others think this is all a dream or vision. Commotion at the edge of the crowd caught their attention. An older Zealothi was pushing through the group, his crystal formation blazing with bright white light. When he reached the front, he spoke rapidly to Elder Kethvel in their musical language. Elder Kethvel's own crystal began flashing in urgent patterns. He turned to the humans with obvious alarm. Chief Elder Morthic brings word from the outer settlements, the translator said. The death of this Drachmer has been felt throughout the forest. The other Deathbringers are responding. They come to investigate the disturbance. How many others? Jake asked, already reaching for his rifle. 3, perhaps 4, Elder Kethvel replied. They travel together when one of their kind falls. This clearing will soon be filled with apex terrors seeking vengeance for their fallen brother. Rick grinned and checked his weapons charge level. Looks like we're going to have plenty of meat for the whole survey mission. Tom started heating up more pans on the cooking unit. Should I start preparing the barbecue sauce? This is turning into quite a feast. The Zealothi stared at the humans in absolute horror, finally understanding that they had not witnessed a miraculous accident. Strange beings from beyond the sky were not afraid of the Drachmer. They were looking forward to the arrival of more apex predators. In the distance, the ground began to shake again as something large approached through the forest. Then the shaking doubled and doubled again as multiple massive creatures converged. On their location, Elder Kethval grabbed Jake's arm desperately. You must flee now. When multiple Drachmer hunt together, nothing can survive. Even we must abandon entire sections of forest until they move on. Jake patted the Elder's hand reassuringly and picked up his plasma rifle. Don't worry. We'll take care of this. You might want to back up a bit, though. Things are about to get messy. The first of the approaching Drachmer let out a roar that echoed through the forest, answered by 2 more from different directions. The sound was like thunder, mixed with the screams of dying animals. Rick took position behind a fallen log and grinned at his teammates. Ready for round 2? The ground shook harder as 3 massive shapes crashed through the forest toward the clearing. Trees bent and broke as the approaching Drachmer forced their way through the undergrowth. Their roars growing louder with each step. The Zealothi scattered, again climbing trees and hiding behind rocks with the speed of pure terror. Chief Elder Morthic grabbed Elder Kethfel's arm and tried to pull him toward safety. Come, old friend, he urged through his translator. We must reach the high places before the Deathbringers arrive. These strange beings may have destroyed 1 through luck, but 3 Drachmar hunting together have never been defeated. Elder Kethball pulled free and remained where he was, his crystal formation pulsing with fascination rather than fear. No, I must see this. If these creatures from beyond the sky can truly face multiple Deathbringers, then everything we know about the world is wrong. Jake and his team took positions around the clearing with calm efficiency. Rick moved to the left, using a large boulder for cover. Tom took the right side, setting up behind the roots of a fallen tree. Lisa crouched behind their equipment, her scanner ready to record the encounter. Jake remained in the center, his plasma rifle charged and ready. Same as before, Jake called to his team. Keep them separated, and don't let them surround us. First Drachmer burst into the clearing and stopped short when it saw the corpse of its fallen packmate. The creature was even larger than the first one, with scars across its hide that spoke of countless battles. It raised its massive head and let out a roar of rage that made the trees shake, the second and third. Drachmer appeared moments later, flanking the first one. These were slightly smaller but moved with the coordinated precision of pack hunters. Their eyes glowed with intelligence and fury as they saw the humans standing calmly near their dead companion. Elder Kethvel felt a sudden pressure in his mind, like cold fingers pressing against his thoughts. He gasped and staggered backward. "Are you using the mind touch?" he called out to the humans. The Deathbringers can paralyze prey with fear through telepathic assault. You must flee before they overwhelm your thoughts. Jake looked puzzled. "I'm not feeling anything. Are you guys getting any kind of mental attack?" "Nothing here," Rick replied, keeping his weapon trained on the largest Drachmer. "All clear," Tom confirmed from his position. Lisa checked her readings and shook her head. "My scanner's not picking up any telepathic energy directed at us. Whatever they're doing, it's not affecting human brains." The three Drachmers seemed confused by the humans' lack of response to their mental assault. They tried again, focusing their combined telepathic power on the strange creatures who showed no fear. The watching Zealothi cried out in pain as the mental waves washed over them, but the humans remained completely unaffected. "Interesting," Jake mused. "They're telepathic predators. That explains why they've been so successful on this world. Too bad for them we don't have telepathic abilities to disrupt." The largest Drachmer realized that its primary weapon was useless against these strange prey. It let out another roar and charged forward, its massive claws tearing up chunks of earth with each step. Jake's plasma rifle fired first, the beam striking the creature in the shoulder and spinning it sideways. Rick's neural disruptor caught it in the head, causing it to stumble and crash into a tree. The other two Drachmer attacked from opposite sides, trying to catch the humans in a pincer movement. Tom's weapon fired repeatedly, forcing one creature to veer away from his position. Lisa surprised everyone by pulling out a small sidearm and adding her fire to the battle. The fight was louder and more chaotic than the first encounter. But the outcome was never really in doubt. The humans moved like a well-trained unit, covering each other and maintaining crossfire that kept the predators from using their size and strength effectively. Within 5 minutes, all three Drachmer lay dead in the clearing. The forest fell completely silent. Even the small insects and birds had stopped making noise. The only sound was the humans checking their weapons and Tom starting up the cooking unit again. "Well, that was exciting," Rick said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "We're definitely smarter than the first." They tried to coordinate their attack. Lisa was already scanning the new corpses with obvious excitement. The telepathic organs are fascinating. They have specialized brain structures that generate psychic energy. This could revolutionize our understanding of consciousness. Examining the meat from the new kills, this one looks even more tender than the first. I think the younger ones might taste better. Jake surveyed the carnage and nodded with satisfaction. For apex predators down, probably enough meat to last us for months. Not a bad day's work. The Zealothi watching from the forest edge were beyond shock now. Many of them had simply collapsed where they stood, their minds unable to process what they had witnessed. Others were making soft, keening sounds of distress. Chief Elder Morthic approached on unsteady legs, his crystal formation flickering with colors that seemed to indicate deep confusion and fear. "This cannot be real," he said through his translator. "For Deathbringers destroyed in a single day, In all our history, in all our legends and songs, nothing like this has ever happened. You have done the impossible. It's really not that hard once you understand their tactics, Jake explained, while helping Tom prepare the new meat. They rely on fear and telepathic attacks to paralyze their prey. Once you remove those advantages, they're just big animals with claws. Elder Kethful had found the courage to approach the dead creatures, though he kept a respectful distance. For millions of years, these beings have shaped our world. Our ancestors built cities in the treetops to escape them. We developed our entire way of life around avoiding them. You have destroyed 4 of them as easily as we might pick fruit from a tree. Where we come from, hunting dangerous animals is pretty normal, Rick said, starting to skin one of the smaller drachmer. Humans have been apex predators on our own world for thousands of years. Apex predators, Chief Elder Morthic repeated. The translator struggling with the concept. You mean that on your world, you are the Deathbringers? Pretty much, Tom confirmed, cutting steaks from the freshest kill. We eliminated most of the large predators on Earth a long time ago. Few that are left mostly avoid humans now. Lisa looked up from her scans. Actually, if you look at human evolutionary history, we were originally prey animals ourselves, but we developed tools, cooperation, persistence hunting techniques that eventually made us the dominant species on our planet. The implications of her words hit the Zealothi like a physical blow. They stared at the humans with a mixture of awe and terror, finally understanding what they were dealing with. You were prey that became predators, Elder Kethfall said slowly. You evolved to hunt the hunters. This is why you show no fear. This is why their mind touch cannot affect you. You are something that should not exist in nature. Nature's pretty flexible, Jake said, taking a bite of the freshly cooked drachma meat. Things adapt or they don't survive. Looks like we adapted better than most. Meanwhile, high above the forest and a monitoring station orbiting the planet, automated sensors were recording everything that happened in the clearing. The data was being transmitted across the galaxy to the Galactic Federation's Emergency Response Center, where it would trigger alarms that would wake sleeping administrators and cause emergency council sessions to be called. But the humans eating their barbecue in the forest clearing knew nothing about the panic they were about to cause throughout the galaxy. They were simply enjoying a good meal after a successful hunt. Rick said, savoring another bite of apex predator. We should probably set up some kind of preservation system. This much meat is going to spoil if we don't process it properly. Tom nodded and began making notes. I can rig up a smoking system using local wood. The climate here is perfect for air-drying meat, too. Excellent, Jake said. Might as well make the most of this opportunity. It's not every day you get to try for different apex predators from an alien world. Elder Kethval watched them with growing understanding. These beings were not just visiting his world. They were making plans to stay. If they stayed, everything would change forever. The age of the Drakmar was ending, and the age of something far more dangerous was about to begin. Admiral Chen Li was enjoying her morning tea aboard the Federation monitoring station. Harmony's watch when the emergency alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the corridors as automated systems activated crisis protocols that had not been used in over 50 years. Chen Li rushed to the main control center, where dozens of technicians were staring at their screens with expressions of confusion and disbelief. Lieutenant Commander Veltak, a blue-skinned Andorian with 4 arms, was frantically checking sensor readings. Report, Chen Li ordered, taking her position at the central command console. Admiral, we're receiving multiple emergency signals. From 17 different worlds, Veltak replied, his voice tight with stress. Our reports indicate the same impossible event. Apex predator species are being systematically eliminated by unknown attackers. Chen Li frowned and pulled up the data on her screen. The reports were indeed coming from worlds scattered across 3 different star systems. On each world, the local apex predators that had ruled their ecosystems for millions of years were suddenly dying at an unprecedented rate. Show me the detailed analysis, she commanded. The main screen filled with biological data, energy readings, and grainy video footage from automatic monitoring probes. What Chen Li saw made her lean forward in her chair with growing alarm. These attackers, she said slowly, they appear to be bipedal, roughly 2 meters tall, and they're using advanced energy weapons. Yes, Admiral Veltok confirmed. That's not the strangest part. According to the biological scans, these beings are not native to any of the affected worlds. They appear to be the same species on every planet. Chen-Li felt a chill run down her spine. Single unknown species was simultaneously attacking apex predators on multiple worlds across vast distances. This suggested either advanced transportation technology or a massive coordinated invasion force. Have we made contact with any of these attackers? She asked. Not directly, Admiral. We have received a transmission from the Zelethi homeworld, requesting emergency consultation. Their leadership claims to have made first contact with the species responsible. Put me through to the Zelethi immediately. The screen flickered and changed to show Elder Kethvel standing in what appeared to be a forest clearing. Behind him, Chen-Li could see the unmistakable remains of several massive creatures that looked like the apex predators from the sensor reports. Admiral Chen-Li, Elder Kethvel said through his translation device, I am grateful for your quick response. We have encountered beings that claim to be from a world called Earth. They have done something that we believed was impossible. Oh, me everything, Chen-Li said, settling into her chair for what she suspected would be a very disturbing briefing. Elder Kethvel's crystal formation pulsed with nervous energy as he began his report. The beings call themselves humans. They arrived in a single small vessel for what they described as a peaceful exploration mission. When they encountered our apex predators, they did not flee as any rational being would do. What did they do? Instead, they hunted them, Admiral. They hunted and killed for Drachmer in a single day, then they consumed the remains as food. Chen-Li blinked several times, certain she had misheard. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Did you say they ate apex predators? Yes, Admiral. They treated our most feared creatures as nothing more than animals to be harvested for meat. When I asked them about this behavior, they explained that hunting apex predators is considered normal recreation on their homeworld. The control center had gone completely silent. Every technician and officer was staring at the screen in shock. Chen-Li felt her hands beginning to shake. Elder Kethvel, are you telling me that these humans regularly hunt apex predators for sport? Not just for sport, Admiral, according to their biologist. They eliminated most of the large predators on their own world thousands of years ago for food and safety. They are, in their own words, apex predators themselves. Chen-Li stood up abruptly, her chair rolling backward. That's impossible. Apex predators don't evolve intelligence. They don't need to. Intelligent species develop as prey animals that need cooperation and tools to survive. That is what we always believed as well, Admiral. But these humans appear to be an exception to that rule. They evolved from prey animals into apex predators through the use of tools and coordinated hunting techniques. The implications hit Chen-Li like a physical blow. Every species in the Galactic Federation had evolved along similar lines. They were all originally prey animals that developed intelligence to escape predators. The idea of an intelligent apex predator species was not just unprecedented, it was terrifying. Admiral Veltok called from his station. I'm receiving new reports. The human activity is spreading. 7 more worlds are reporting apex predator elimination events. Chen-Li rubbed her temples, feeling a headache building. Elder Kethvel, where are these humans now? They've established what they call a hunting camp in our forest. They are processing the meat from their kills, and have expressed interest in finding more Drachmer to hunt. They seem to view our terror-bringers as a valuable food source. Food source, Chen-Li repeated numbly. Yes, Admiral. Their leader, Captain Jake Morrison, mentioned that their databases contain information about thousands of other apex predator species from their homeworld. He seemed curious about what other dangerous creatures might exist on Federation worlds. The control center erupted in alarmed chatter as the full implications of this statement sank in. Chen-Li raised her hand for silence. Elder Kethvel, I need you to maintain peaceful contact with these humans while we figure out how to respond to this situation. Do not let them know that we are discussing them. Understood, Admiral. But I must ask, what kind of response are you considering? The humans have shown us great courtesy and respect. They have also freed our people from a fear that has haunted us for millions of years. Chen-Li paused, realizing the complexity of the situation. You're saying that the elimination of your apex predators has been beneficial for your people? Admiral, for the first time in our recorded history, my people can walk freely through our own forests. Children who have never seen the ground level of our world are exploring areas that have been forbidden since the dawn of civilization. These humans have given us a gift beyond price. Before Chen Li could respond, another alarm sounded. Veltok was gesturing frantically at his screen. Admiral, priority transmission coming in from the Federation Emergency Council. They're calling an immediate session to address the apex predator crisis. Chen Li nodded grimly. Transfer my command to the backup station and prepare my shuttle. I need to get to Federation headquarters immediately. She turned back to Elder Kethvel. Continue monitoring the human activities and report any changes immediately. Whatever you do, don't mention anything about Federation military capabilities or other member worlds. Of course, Admiral, but may I ask why you seem so concerned? The humans have been nothing but helpful and friendly. Chen Li looked at the images of dead apex predators behind the Zealot the Elder and tried to imagine what would happen if a species of intelligent apex predators decided that the Federation itself looked like interesting prey. 'Cause Elder Kethvel, we've just discovered that we're not alone in the galaxy. For the first time in Federation history, we've encountered a species that might be more dangerous than the things we've been hiding from. 3 hours later, Chen Li stood before the Federation Emergency Council in the Great Assembly Hall on Nexus Prime. The circular chamber was filled with representatives from 47 different species, all of them herbivores or small omnivores, who had achieved spaceflight by working together to escape the predators on their onward. So Federation President Vextar, cautious amphibian with large eyes and mottled green skin, called the session to order with obvious reluctance. Fellow beings, he began, his voice amplified by the chamber's sound system. We face an unprecedented situation. Reports are coming in from across Federation space about the systematic elimination of apex predator species by unknown attackers. Worried murmurs filled the chamber. Representative Clixera from the vegan system raised one of her 4 hands. President Vextar, are we under attack? Should we activate emergency defense protocols? The situation is more complex than a simple invasion, Vextar replied. Admiral Chen Li has been investigating these incidents. Admiral, please share your findings. Chen Li approached the central speaking platform, her report data appearing on screens throughout the chamber. Fellow representatives, we have made contact with the species responsible for these incidents. They call themselves humans, and they claim to come from a world called Earth. According to our initial contact reports, humans are an intelligent species that evolved as apex predators. The chamber erupted in shocked gasps and alarmed chatter. Several representatives stood up, their voices raised in disbelief. Order. President Vexter called, his voice cutting through the noise. Let the Admiral finish her report. Thank you, President. According to human representatives, their species regularly hunts large predators for food and recreation. They have eliminated most dangerous species on their own world and appear to view our apex predators as potential food sources. 6 months had passed since the first Drachmar fell in the forest clearing of Kepler 4 for to see. The forest moon had become a very different place during that time, where once the massive apex predators had roamed freely, terrorizing any creature that dared to move through the undergrowth. Now there was peace. Jake Morrison, now wearing the insignia of an ambassador rather than a simple exploration captain, walked through the forest with Elder Kethvel at his side. Both men moved easily along paths that had once been death traps for any zealothy, brave enough or foolish enough to travel at ground level. The transformation has been remarkable, Elder Kethvel said, his crystal formation glowing with contentment. Our young ones who had never seen the forest floor are now building homes among the great trees. We are reclaiming parts of our world that have been forbidden for countless generations. Jake nodded, watching a group of young zealothi playing in a meadow that had once been a Drachmar hunting ground. How many of the creatures are left in this region? Our scouts estimate perhaps a dozen scattered across the deep wilderness areas. They avoid the regions where humans are active. For the first time in our history, the Deathbringers fear something more than we fear them. They reached the edge of a cleared area where construction was taking place. Human workers operated beside Zelethi engineers, building structures that combined Earth. Technology with the biological building methods that the Zelethi had perfected over millennia. Tom Bradley emerged from one of the partially completed buildings, wiping sweat from his forehead. Morning, Ambassador. The communication array should be online by this afternoon. We'll have real-time contact with 12 other Federation worlds. Excellent work, Tom. Any word from the colony ship? Captain Rodriguez reports that the New Horizon will arrive in 3 weeks with the first wave of permanent settlers. 500 families ready to start new lives here. Elder Kethvel's crystal pulsed with interest. And these families, they will also hunt the Deathbringers. Some of them, Jake replied. We'll have professional hunters to manage the Drachmer population. But most of the colonists will be farmers, engineers, teachers, and other specialists needed to build a proper settlement. The sound of weapons fire echoed from the forest, followed by Rick Davis's voice over the communication system. Control, this is Hunting Team 3. We have successfully neutralized 2 more Drachmer in Sector 7. Its estimated meat yield is 400 kilograms. Requesting pickup for transport to the processing facility. Tom activated his communicator. Copy that, Team 3. Transport is on the way. Elder Kethvel still seemed amazed every time he heard such casual reports about Drachmer elimination. It will take many generations for my people to truly understand that the ancient terror is no longer a threat. Some of our eldest still refuse to believe what has happened. Change takes time, Jake said diplomatically. Your people have done remarkably well adapting to the new situation. What Jake did not mention was the communication he had received that morning from Admiral Chen Li. The Federation Emergency Council had been in almost continuous session for months, trying to figure out how to respond to humanity's sudden appearance. In galactic civilization, the initial panic had gradually given way to cautious curiosity, as reports came in from other worlds where human teams had been invited to deal with apex predator problems. Every intervention had been successful. Every world that had requested human assistance reported the same results. Freedom from ancient fears and the ability to expand their civilizations into previously forbidden areas. The communicator on Jake's belt chirped with an incoming priority message. Ambassador Morrison, this is Dr. Lisa Parker calling from the Xenobiology Research Station. Could you come to the lab when you have a moment? We have some interesting developments to share. On my way, Lisa. Jake and Elder Kethvel made their way to the research facility that had been built around Lisa's original field laboratory. The building hummed with activity as scientists from both species worked together to study the creatures that had once terrorized this world. Lisa met them at the entrance, her excitement obvious despite her attempt to maintain scientific composure. Jake, we've made some remarkable discoveries about Drachmer biology. It turns out they have some unique properties that could be incredibly valuable. She led them to a laboratory where tissue samples from various Drachmer were being analyzed by advanced equipment. The telepathic organs contain compounds that could revolutionize neural medicine. The muscle tissue has protein structures that might be useful for developing new materials. And the bone marrow produces substances that show promise for extending lifespans in several Federation species. Elder Kethvel stared at the samples with wonder. You mean that the Deathbringers that have haunted our nightmares for millions of years could actually help heal and protect life? That's exactly what I mean, Lisa confirmed. These creatures aren't just apex predators. They're walking treasure troves of biological resources that could benefit the entire galaxy. Jake smiled, understanding the implications immediately. Lisa, prepare a detailed report for transmission to Federation headquarters. I think this information is going to change a lot of minds about the value of human apex predator management services. 3 hours later, Jake stood in the communication center as the quantum transmitter connected him to Admiral Chen Li aboard the Federation flagship. Harmony's voice. The Admiral's image appeared on the screen, and Jake noticed that she looked much more relaxed than she had during their previous conversations. Ambassador Morrison, Admiral Chen Li said with a slight smile, "Hope you're prepared for some significant changes in your mission parameters." "I'm listening, Admiral." The Federation Council has reached a decision about humanity's role in galactic civilization. After extensive debate and review of the data from 23 different worlds where human teams have provided apex predator management services, we would like to formally invite humanity to join the Galactic Federation. Jake felt a surge of satisfaction but kept his expression neutral. That's excellent news, Admiral. What are the proposed terms? Rather than being inducted as a standard member species requiring protection and assistance, humanity would be classified as the Federation's first apex management specialists. Your people would be responsible for monitoring and controlling dangerous predator species throughout Federation space. That sounds like it could be a very profitable arrangement for both parties. Admiral Chenley nodded. The economic benefits are substantial. Worlds that have been restricted due to apex predator activity represent enormous opportunities for expansion and resource development. The Federation is prepared to offer significant compensation for human services in this area. The screen flickered. As additional participants joined the conversation, recognized President Vexstar and several other high-ranking Federation officials. Ambassador Morrison, President Vexstar said, "Amphibian features showing what might have been nervousness. We must ask about Earth's military capabilities. Our intelligence services have been trying to understand how a species of apex predators might approach interstellar warfare." Jake chose his words carefully. President Vexstar, humanity has certainly experienced its share of conflicts throughout history. However, we found that trade and cooperation are generally more profitable than warfare. The Federation offers us opportunities for peaceful expansion and resource development that would be impossible to achieve through aggressive means. But if threatened, your species would be capable of defending itself. Without question, Jake replied firmly. But we prefer to avoid situations where such measures become necessary. President Vexstar exchanged glances with the other Federation officials before continuing. Ambassador, we would like to propose an additional arrangement. In addition to apex predator management, would humanity be willing to serve as a defensive force for Federation worlds? There are regions of space where hostile species have prevented Federation expansion. Jake paused, recognizing the significance of what was being offered. You're asking us to be the Federation's military arm. In essence, yes. Your species has capabilities that no other Federation member possesses. The ability to function as apex predators gives you advantages in combat situations that our people simply cannot match. I'll need to discuss this with Earth Command, but I believe we would be very interested in such an arrangement. Admiral Chenley leaned forward. There's one more thing, Ambassador. We've received reports that your Dr. Parker has made significant discoveries about the commercial value of apex predator biological resources. That's correct. It appears that these creatures may have applications in medicine, materials, science, and longevity research. The Federation Science Council is extremely interested in pursuing joint research projects. The potential benefits for all our species could be enormous. Jake nodded, seeing the complete picture now. Humanity wasn't just being accepted into galactic civilization. They were being positioned as the dominant military and economic power in the Federation. A soft chime sounded from Jake's communicator, indicating an incoming message from the surface. The voice that followed belonged to Chef Marcus Webb, who had arrived on the colony ship to establish what he called